Welcome back to Wrestling Flash. In this WWE and all things wrestling video, we are going to look at Alexa Bliss not returning for WrestleMania 38, Bray Wyatt vs. Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38, Bray Wyatt challenges Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar leaving after WrestleMania 38, and more. Brock Lesnar leaving WWE after WrestleMania 38. Brock Lesnar will put the WWE Championship on the line in a title unification match against Universal Champion Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38. In the greatest WrestleMania match ever, the two titans will collide to determine the undisputed WWE Champion. The Beast Incarnate won the Men's Royal Rumble match this year to cement his position as WrestleMania's main eventer. He also won the WWE title at Elimination Chamber, making his match against Roman Reigns a title unification match. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter revealed that Lesnar is booked for 2 of the next 3 premium live events after WrestleMania. It means Lesnar is going to stick around despite speculation about leaving if he loses to Roman. Lesnar is booked for 2 of the next 3 PPV shows: WrestleMania Backlash on 5/8 in Providence, Ryan Money in the Bank at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas on 7/2. The report also stated that after WrestleMania, there'd only be one world champion for a few months before a new world title gets added. Reigns will likely win at WrestleMania 38 because Brock Lesnar won't be working a full-time schedule. One would think after the build saying there'd only be one champion, that they don't add a second champion at least for a few months. The key to that'd be the IC and US titles shouldn't have been more meaningless in a sense that they'd be top titles on a brand unless Lesnar is winning or Reigns goes to work both brands as champion. And Lesnar isn't even working a full schedule. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar will face each other for the 3rd time in a WrestleMania main event. Lesnar holds a WrestleMania win over Reigns, whereas one of their matches converted into a triple threat when Seth Rollins cashed in the MITB contract. Alexa Bliss not returning for WrestleMania 38. Alexa Bliss has not yet been spotted in Dallas, Texas, and we are just a couple of days away from the upcoming premium live event, WrestleMania 38. According to PW Insider, Bliss has not been spotted at the Dallas airport or in the area around the AT&T Stadium, the arena that will host this year's Showcase of Immortals. Bliss hasn't been booked for a match or a segment at WrestleMania. She was last seen in ring in the Elimination Chamber at the namesake premium live event in February. This might mean that she is not making a return this weekend, although there is still time for her to get to Texas. She might become one in the long line of talent that makes returns at the Raw after WrestleMania. But even as that takes place in the same city, that too seems unlikely. Alexa Bliss did not wrestle in a match at last year's WrestleMania 37 either. She instead interfered in a match between Randy Orton and the Fiend Bray Wyatt, costing Wyatt the match. According to PW Insider, Bayley and Asuka were spotted in Dallas, Texas ahead of WrestleMania 38. Both superstars have been inactive due to injury and are due to return in the near future. Asuka suffered a shoulder injury after last year's Money in the Bank event, where she competed in the titular ladder match. She was not drafted to any brand in the WWE 2021 draft. There is currently no confirmation on a return date, though reports have claimed that WWE expects her to return in the spring. Bayley competed in her final match on the June 25, 2021 episode of Friday Night SmackDown. She was slated to face Bianca Belair at Money in the Bank in 2021, but was ruled out as a result of a torn ACL, which reportedly kept her out for 9 months. With the 2 injured superstars making appearances in Dallas, Alexa Bliss still hasn't been spotted, so it is unlikely that we will see her on our screens anytime soon. What are your thoughts on Alexa Bliss probably not being at WrestleMania 38? Are you excited to see her back on TV? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Latest on Becky Lynch's real-life heat with current WWE superstar. Becky Lynch is still not reconciled with fellow WWE superstar Charlotte Flair following their real-life fallout. The WrestleMania 35 main eventers were best friends during the first few years of their WWE careers. However, according to Lynch, the friendship fell apart when Flair became jealous of her success in the company. Speaking to BT Sports' Ariel Helwani, the Raw Women's Champion reflected on her emotional victory over her former friend at Survivor Series 2021. Lynch also gave an update on what the atmosphere is like when they see each other backstage at shows. "I wish the whole thing didn't go down the way it did. It didn't need to go down that way, but I don't really have any regrets on my behalf. Same, just pass each other in the hallway. Sometimes, maybe a nod. No, although they perform on different brands, the Raw Women's Champion and SmackDown Women's Champion often appear on the same card at WWE live events." Lynch clarified that, despite their differences, both women are professional enough to coexist in the workplace. The real-life tension between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair was heavily referenced on WWE television heading into their champion versus champion clash at Survivor Series 2021. Lynch added that she became emotional before the match after watching a WWE video package about the demise of her friendship with Flair. "It brought tears to my eyes right before I was gonna go out. No, never. I think it fueled it. I think anytime anything is emotionally charged in a business where you are selling emotion, I don't think it's ever a bad thing. I think you have to take that emotion and just put it out and give that energy to the audience. Lynch said she and Flair exchanged thank yous backstage after the match. She also reiterated that they are unlikely to be friends again while working for WWE. Plan for Seth Rollins' WrestleMania match against mystery opponent changed. Seth Rollins will be having a match against an opponent of Vince McMahon's choice at WrestleMania 38. Speculation suggests that this will be former AEW star Cody Rhodes. However, the Visionary has hinted that his rival could be Shane McMahon or even John Cena. The former WWE champion's road to WrestleMania essentially entailed him trying to get himself a big match at the mega event. After multiple failed attempts, the architect decided to sabotage Raw. However, Vince McMahon called him into his office and granted a match. As per Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the original plan was for Seth Rollins' match to take place on WrestleMania Sunday. However, it has now been moved to Saturday. There were also several changes made on which day which matches would be. Notably, the Seth Rollins vs. Cody Rhodes match was moved from Sunday to Saturday, and Edge vs. AJ Styles, originally on Sunday, moved to Saturday, was moved back to Sunday, said Meltzer. With Rollins vs. Rhodes being added to WrestleMania Saturday, here is what the lineup looks like. Saturday matches are Flair vs. Rousey for the SmackDown Women's title, Rollins vs. Rhodes, Becky Lynch vs. Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title, Rey and Dominic Mysterio vs. The Miz and Logan Paul, Usos vs. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs for the SmackDown Tag titles, Drew McIntyre vs. Happy Corbin and Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods vs. Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Dave Meltzer stated that while Cody Rhodes is almost locked in as Rollins' opponent, there is still a chance that he could back off the show. However, it's unlikely that Rhodes would go back on his word just days before WrestleMania. WWE had initially planned for Seth Rollins to head into WrestleMania 38 as the WWE champion. The plans were changed when Brock Lesnar became the champion instead of Rollins at day one. Another plan for the Messiah was for him to take on Shane McMahon at the Show of Shows, which also had to be nixed. Bray Wyatt vs. Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38. Bray Wyatt teases. Wyndham Rotunda had big praise for former WWE rival Seth Rollins while responding to a fan's comment on Instagram. Bray Wyatt has arrived in Dallas for a WrestleCon appearance on WrestleMania 38 weekend. The former WWE superstar shared a post on Instagram in which he wrote he'd be answering a bunch of fan questions. A fan speculated in the comments section that Wyatt might get revealed as Rollins' mystery opponent at WrestleMania 38. Wyatt responded to the fan, showering major praise on Rollins. He also mentioned his infamous Hell in a Cell match against Rollins and said the duo would make up for it someday. I love Seth. I love him so goddamn much. Me and him will make up for that one day. And when we do, everyone will understand that wild horses are meant to run free. At SummerSlam 2019, Seth Rollins defeated Brock Lesnar to win the Universal title. He later won a feud against Braun Strowman but was attacked by The Fiend. Rollins and The Fiend competed in a disastrous Hell in a Cell match at the namesake event, which ended via referee stoppage. The outing got panned by fans and critics alike and is considered one of the worst matches ever. Rollins said the following about the match in an interview with Alex McCarthy. At the end of the day, there's no real nice way to put it. I was dead in the water after Hell in a Cell. And a lot of that was nothing that I could control. I was left out there as a bit of a scapegoat in that situation and there was nothing I could do about it. But I was the one that had to face the scrutiny. The feud finally came to an end when Wyatt defeated Rollins to win the Universal title at Crown Jewel 2019. Wyatt's reign ended at Super Showdown 2020 with a squash loss against WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg. Do you think Wyatt's words will ever come true? Do you see these two men facing each other again in the